Our next storyteller is Therese M. Griffin. And Therese grew up in Chicago's inner city in the 1950s and 1960s, and she faced white on white and white on black prejudice, as well as a visual disability. Somehow she grew up, achieved advanced degrees, enjoyed several careers, found peace, and emerged with forgiveness and pride. Please give a warm welcome for Therese.
Even though I was a dumb kid growing up, I had all D's and F's. I didn't realize, and neither did the teachers, that I had a learning disorder with vision, like dyslexia and vision. But you know, there was a way I was always passing because I would listen and I would be able to negotiate. I was a president of Local 247 of UFCW, and so I'm not shy, and I love talking. Pride or prejudice? I grew up with white on white prejudice. My mother died 2 days before my 9th birthday. After that, the only name I heard my German grandmother call my dad from Tennessee was hillbilly or dumb farmer. Campbell's Soup, where Mom worked, called to tell us they were taking her to St. George's Hospital in an ambulance. I went with Dad. I jumped on the bumper to wave. She didn't wave back. I knew she saw me. I sat dimly lit lounge while Dad went up the stairs. A nurse came running down the stairs, picked me up, and ran me up the stairs 2 at a time. She said, Mom wanted to see me. Mom was on a rolling cart, spitting into a cup. She said, Therese, don't worry, I'll be okay. Later I learned when they wheeled her into the elevator, she wasn't able to talk anymore. I was the last person she spoke to. The next morning, I woke up at Grandma's with Mom's 2 sisters crying. One yelled at me, Therese, you don't understand. My sister died. I'm 9 years old. I'm standing there going, Mom said she was going to be okay. No one looked at me or even came to touch me. They were all in their own head. The next morning I woke, I said that. I stayed with Grandma during the school week. My faithful dad picked me up every weekend and for summer breaks and to stay at home, including my brother Roy, who's 13 years older, and my sister Barb, 11 years older. I was 9, and they were 21 and 19. Grandma would taunt me with questions like, your dad will be bringing home a black mama. How would you like a black mama? I felt so alone. I went to my brother Roy. I said, Grandma likes you. Can you talk to her and ask her to be nice to me? She's so mean. My brother, I think it's you, not her. That was the first time I went to my room crying. I had no one to protect me. My mother was my cheerleader and my protector. I didn't have any protection at Grandma's. She was so angry that her daughter died. She said, if it wasn't for you, Therese, she'd still be alive. How did I kill my mother? At 18, when I picked up my first alcoholic drinks at taverns with Barb and Roy, I shouted out, Mom didn't die of childbirth. They looked at me like I was crazy. I said, that's what Grandma said. Dad asked me, do you want to meet some of my relatives at a family reunion? Where did they live? Tennessee? No, Chicago. Chicago? He said, I promised your grandma not to take you to meet them, but now you're 18. You can make your own choice. I fell in love with my Appalachian roots. Bluegrass music, fiddle playing, banjo picking, even cousins singing gospel songs and other deep Southern songs. The whiskey was flowing. One uncle told me, Therese, I got to tell you about our family. We're like 2 peas in a pod. One is alcoholic and the other ones are churchgoers. And you and I know which one you and I are in, the alcohol one. And I looked at him and I didn't quite know what he meant. But later on, I think I figured it out. Drinking and driving is not very wise. Then the aunts, the southern aunts, saw how I was so lost. I was really lost. But at that time, I didn't have any females who ever cared for me after my mother died. My sister and brother called me a traitor, crossing the line. What line? That's Dad's family. They're acting like I'm in the Civil War, crossing the line. You know, but they were into listening to Grandma. I saw Grandma and my mother's 2 sisters. I said, let's have a family reunion. My aunt says, that's a great idea. I thought, oh my God, I finally said something right. She said, but you can't come. Your mother's dead. You're not part of the family anymore. How did I lose my title of niece? I got a job at Libby's meatpacking factory and moved to the area where the hillbilly families lived. I felt safe being in a food factory just like Mom. I felt safe just being around family. I tried to get Grandma to come and to see my mural that I painted on my aunt's bar. Modern guitar and musical notes and the desert and just beautiful murals all around the tavern. And I was very proud. So when I was driving up there, I said, I have the keys, no one's in there. I want to show you my artwork, Grandma. All of a sudden, she realized it must be the hillbillies. No, I won't go in. Take me home now. I asked again, I want to show you my art. Grandma said, I've seen your cousin Carol's art. I don't need to see yours. How can anyone fight somebody else's hatefulness? When I was a child, living in the inner city, nope, the light's better this way. Living in the inner city of Chicago, my mother would bring home black coworkers. I had no idea I lived in a lily white neighborhood. Her friends were Ruby and Minnie, and little Minnie, my age. We would play together. Once Mom asked me, can I take your Halloween rat to work? I want to scare the women on the line. I said, yes. She returned with my rubber rat without a tail. Ruby thought it was a real rat, so she chopped the tail off with her butcher knife. True story. I even saw a black Santa Claus when we took a bus to meet Minnie and little Minnie. At Mom's wake, I saw a sea of black people come in to the funeral home. They were my mom's co-workers. a man walked up to my dad. Earl, it's our custom to take pictures of the deceased in the coffin. May I take a few photos? My dad, being a gentle mountain man from the back hills of Tennessee, was quiet, and then he said, "It's not our custom, but yes, you can, but please don't send us any of the photos." They shook hands, walked away, and those are the things I learned from my parents. Be gentle, kind, listen, laugh, and shake hands. Nightly, Grandma always prayed for a happy death by sprinkling holy water in the north, east, west, south. I was 21 years old when Grandma was dog sitting for Cousin Carol's poodle, Jojo, had a heart attack at Carol's house. My mother's sisters were at the hospital when I arrived with grandmother's. I brought my grandmother's brother, my great uncle George. Grandma asked, "Do you have your car here?" I said, "Yes." "Good, take me for a ride." I chuckled. I said, "You got two daughters out in the hallway. You think they're going to let me unplug you with all this medical equipment and take you for a ride? Well, if you can't do it, nobody can." With that, she handed me a job of checking on her feet. She said, "Please, keep checking my feet. Are they getting colder? Are they turning blue? Are they getting colder? Are they getting blue?" On the second day, Uncle George came back with me again. He was a sweetheart. He would give quarters and call me a doll face as a child. I drove him back home, and then I returned. Grandma looked at me. "I treated you the worst, and you were always there when I needed you." I felt like a cowboy, the Lone Ranger, that wore a mask and used silver bullets. I said, "That's okay." In my mind, a mask was to hide my inner feelings, and the silver bullet was to prove I'm not a wimp. The words I was hearing were like foreign language. Grandma was actually asking for forgiveness. On the third day, Grandma said softly, "Barbary is here." That's what she called my mom. Grandma passed away gently with ice cold and blue feet. You could see she was at peace. She was a St. Francis of Assisi secular member. She was able to be buried in a habit. God heard her daily prayers at age 82. She was given the gift of a happy death. There were 6 grandchildren, 4 older and 1 5 years younger than me. Grandma didn't like her either. Even when I was 10, I would get so angry and said, "Stop picking on her. Why are you so mean?" In maturing, I finally got it. Don't let others sleep in your head rent-free. Don't let others sleep in your head rent-free. It helped me when I was able to see my grandma's brokenness. Doesn't mean I accepted her negative behaviors. What does one do with grandma's bitterness? Over time, I was able to understand where it came from. Grandma arrived at Ellis Island in 1890 as a 3-year-old child with her mother, who had a broken ankle, and her baby sister, 9-month-old. Her life had been painful with uphill struggles. Grandpa died of alcohol at a young age from alcoholism, leaving her to raise 3 girls. Grandma's middle daughter, my mother, and within that same year, her younger sister died too. Today I work at a loving self. Grandma doesn't sleep in my head rent-free anymore. Yet I still work to free myself. Old resentments that she passed on to me. My lived experience taught me to show my loving center. I am grateful I wasn't locked inside of Grandma's body or her mind. I'm able to set Grandma free. And there's an old saying I love: the love in your heart wasn't put there to stay, and love isn't love until you give it away. I can do that in my life today, and I can feel it in this room. I feel each one of you are walking with me on my journey. Thank you for loving me, and I love you.